Hey there, class. I am excited to look at this sample analysis essay with you. I'm assuming that you have read the assignment guidelines, you've reviewed the rubric, you've looked at my notes and the discussion boards, and you've actually read the student sample yourselves, just so that know what's going on with this essay. So the first comment I made as I looked at this is just it's an acceptable title page. The only slight revision you would make is you're supposed to put the first initial of your middle name in APA format, so it could be Sarah Q student, and you'd be good to go. But this looks fine. My next comment is about the abstract. Please do not write an abstract. This essay was written for a former class where abstracts were required, and it is not anymore. Please don't write one. Then we move up to the next comment. So note the actual essay is 6 pages long, which is great because it's supposed to be between 5 and 6. And I comment here, the first sentence hooks the reader, which is nice, but it's got the jarring number inconsistency. The monkeys climbing over the shoulder of a local news anchor while they report on the blah, 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 blah. While this is technically acceptable, it's ugly to have a singular and then a plural. So work to avoid that in your writing, please. And then I love his segue, or her segue, I guess, here. This all too familiar scenario may be what led Neil Postman to declare blah, 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 blah. It's just a beautiful transition from hooking the reader to that. As we've discussed in our meeting, the thesis is problematic. It has some good content, but it's just not honed yet. So I created a possible revised thesis. Postman's article is persuasive despite questionable ethical decisions because he provides strong evidence and he appeals to listeners with evocative language. So then your reader expects to hear about his questionable ethical decisions, then his strong evidence, and then his evocative language. The summary is just fine. I write, but trim the fat here, as we've talked about. We've already introduced his first name, so we don't need to use it again. We've already introduced his article, so we don't need to use that again. The credentials are nice. You could say Postman, a prolific writer and founder of blah, 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 argues that television and the widespread fixation on entertainment creates an intellectual apathy which will eventually destroy Western civilization, and that'd be just fine. It's a really nice summary. And then he launches into ethos. Here I write revise for clarity. There are good things in here, talking about gambling with his credibility, shifting topic, but make sure your topic sentences are so clear. You could say, Postman makes a huge gamble when he, decides not to focus on Orwell, though even though he's at this Orwell symposium, and then discuss that, develop it. But you don't have to panic in that first sentence. Just provide the main point of that paragraph. Put that in your topic sentence. This is good content. It just needs a little revision. And then I write, again, great segue, because he says again, clearly his intention is not to persuade doubters, but rather give vindication to a like-minded audience. Okay. However, other areas of his argument compensate for this oversight. It's an excellent transition, but then you read this again, he struggles with topic sentences, or she, Jane's student. While his argument remains compelling and clearly focused on the ills of television entertainment, his logic suffers when one considers blah, blah, blah. He's making a case that the logic is strong, and yet in this opening topic sentence, that's my daughter saying hi. Anyway, again, I think you'd want to say, overall his logic is strong because he does this, and you'd show how he shows strong logic. And then you could discuss, however, here are some things that kind of hurt his logical appeal, and that would be fine as well. And then he launches into pathos, which is, again, beautiful. You'll notice he quotes. We talked about quoting just for about 10% of an essay. He gets a little quote happy here, but he has such fantastic things to share. Again, just look for about a 10%, just include those page numbers as you do it. But, he does a beautiful, I keep saying he, but she does a beautiful job. And then I want you to note something here. A couple of you have mentioned that you're worried about repeating yourselves in your essays. Note that he's mentioning the 5,000 hours of television, which he's talked about before when he mentions statistics. But note that here he's mentioning it, but he's not wasting time repeating. He's saying, he's mentioning it, but he's highlighting a different aspect of it. He's saying, look at how this is used for greater shock value. So it's okay that there's that one little overlap, but it's used for different things. but typically you don't want to have overlap. When you read the conclusion, it's an interesting conclusion, but it doesn't really conclude the piece. The whole piece has been about how well did he do with his rhetorical strategies. How persuasive was this as a result of it? So I'd like you to spend a little bit more time showing, just a review of this was compelling because he took risks, but it was powerful. Yes, there were a couple logical fallacies, but it was this, it was this, it was this, it was compelling. And then you can spin off, I write, provide a bit more of a review of rhetorical strategies, and then show what the article may inspire readers to do. So, after, has it been strong, has it not been strong? Based on what's happened in this article, what might it motivate people to do? And you can stop right there. And then, of course, you notice that the references page is just fine. It's just got that one post. So I hope that this helps you. I hope you're inspired as you read this beautiful piece of writing. I mean, yes, there are problems. There are a few grammatical errors, and the topic sentences need a little strengthening. The thesis needs a bit of strengthening. But you can see the beautiful ideas in here, and I hope you feel inspired by this piece in this examination.